All right, thank you so much for joining us on our 129th edition of Lunch Out Loud Ottawa. My name is Nick Pachuski.
And I'm Andrew Miller.
He's back.
I'm back.
And we're the podcast that talks to the people, places, events, and music that make this city the incredible city that it is. And before we get to our very special guest, it's October, it's election season. We're pumped for Ian Capstick coming on.
Yeah.
Why don't we check this out? All right,
Hey, this is Ben from Orienteers. You're listening to some songs from our self-titled album. You can find it on iTunes, Amazon, and eMusic. Or you can visit our website at orienteers.ca for a free 10-track sampler album and all sorts of streaming music and videos. That's orienteers.ca. Thanks a lot for listening to us on Lunch Out Loud.
Orienteers. That song was the walking song. It's always good to get a good walk in. You visit them at orienteers.ca. Of course, they were part of Marvis, and they did a very interesting set at the Unrefined Olive, which was a great venue to see music, and I can't wait to see Marvis come back next year.
Cool.
So before we get to Ian Capstick, we'll just let you know at halftime, as always, Jen from Foodie Prince will come on to talk all things Beau's Oktoberfest,
Nice.
Oktoberfest Ottawa, different things. Mac My Cheese Fest going on at City Hall this weekend. Should be interesting, the first one. And Harvest Noir. So 4 great events coming up
Mac
this
My
weekend.
Cheese Fest.
Yeah, Les Gagne production.
Nice.
Another one. So thank you, Ian, for having us here at this amazing third floor of Media Style on Bank Street.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This is gorgeous. Great tables. Who made the table? Where did you get that?
The big tables, our big tables upstairs are made by Tom Paddlehauser. We call those the aircraft carriers.
Nice.
And the tables down here are actually imported by Sustainable Wood out of Brazil. Yeah, we wholesale the tables.
Oh, anyway,
cool. So
odd.
Rainforest.
Yeah,
Wow.
not really.
Very nice. So Ian Capstick is a managing partner at mediastyle.ca. You've also, if you ever watch TV between the times of 6 or 5 and 7, in your lifetime, you've seen him on if you're flipping through at any time, you've seen him, or if you're watching Power and Politics, or I guess every other TV show that deals with politics and stuff in the country you've been on. So before we're going to talk politics because it's Ottawa. We have an election in a few weeks. Yeah. We'll get to know Media Style, but first, Ian, favorite restaurant, like we do with everyone, favorite restaurants. Maybe some events, and why does that keep you in Ottawa?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a big fan of restaurants in town. So we work with Union 613. They're one of Media Style's clients, so I'd be remiss Ivan would kick my butt if I didn't mention them.
Oh, right on.
Even though he hates being on lists, I just put him on mine because it's also my local. I'm about 2 blocks away from there. But also new to the neighborhoods north and Navy. I'm really loving the whole sort of grotto feeling that they've got in the back there. They've always seemed to have got an extra spot for me while my husband's busy in the war room. Yeah. And I absolutely love Campari-based drinks, and they have a ton of that sort of stuff.
North of Navy.
North and Navy. Nona, for sure.
Where the old Bechtel was.
Yes.
Okay, right on.
Yeah. Christopher Schleizig and...
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, absolutely incredible spot. And then I would be remiss not to mention my neighbors here on Bank Street over at Clover, the amazing West de Castro, serving up humble food. They know there when I sit down that I only eat one thing. I don't know what all the other food tastes like. I really like the Plowman's Lunch. So
Plowman's Lunch.
Yeah, but Wes jokes with me because there's not a lot lot of cooking involved in a plowman's lunch. It's just a bunch of cut up bread and stuff, but I really like it.
The taste that they put there is incredible.
They're incredible.
So it's one of the most favorite.
Yeah, and then I guess in terms of events, I mean, this year we kicked off a brand new event here in Ottawa called Queer Pride. So a little bit of a satellite event, a little bit of a secondary event to the traditional kind of more corporate Pride, which is a little bit more heavy focused on having banks and others support it. We're creating a really local Queer Pride for a really diverse audience. So people should take a look for it to reappear during the official Capital Pride Festival next time around. And
so it is during the same time frame.
During the exact same time frame, yeah.
What were kind of the events that happened?
So this time around we had 2 different beer gardens. We had a bunch of restaurants down on Somerset West involved. We had a really awesome photo booth that our friends at the Queer Mafia have put up. And I guess that'll be my other really big events that I love is, I would say to all the straight people out there, come party with all my queer friends down at Babylon on Queer Mafia night. So there's one called Oh My Jam. You should all come out.
Nobody parties harder.
It's very true. You got it exactly right. And we got the best music and the best looking folks in town. So yeah, Babylon, Queer Mafia nights. That's usually where you'll find me.
And that was fun. And it was just such a party up until Sunday at 11 p.m. Beautiful night outside. I thought that was great. What was going on there? So, and you also congrats on 40 Under 40 as well.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate
it. That's always
great. It blew me away. I mean, I'm a socialist, so it always confuses me when people give me business awards. But yeah, I sometimes recognize and realize I run one of those businesses.
Is a socialist different than a progressive socialist?
Same thing. It's all
same
the
thing.
thing.
So Bernie Sanders
I joke. I'm just a progressive most of the time. But most people in the business world think I'm a little bit more, Marxist-y or communist-y than that. We run a democratic business here at Media Style, right? So as soon as I tell most of my friends in business that we run our shop a little bit differently than most, they get a little confused. So
so we'll talk about Media Style.
Yeah.
What exactly is MediaStyle.ca and when did you start?
Yeah, so Media Style is a full-service advertising agency now. So we started off as primarily a media and political consultancy. It was just myself and a leaning desk that I bought from Zone down in the market up against my wall in my bedroom, and that was for the first year or so. And then another local business really helped us out, the Code Factory, Ian Graham, and his incredible co-working space, which used to be down on Queen, and now it's a little further into Centertown, gave us our first offices. And, through sort of renting in his space for about a year and a half, 2 years, we really established ourselves as one of the go-to firms in town for nonprofits, associations, unions, and others who want to explain really complicated ideas and concepts to everyday Canadians and government officials. So we are the supporting arm for some of the public relations and government relations campaigns that Ottawans have seen around, particularly the downtown core here. So some of the sort of stuff that you see on billboards or some of the advertisements that you've seen advertising a variety of different positions on things, that tends to be the work that we do.
How did you leverage going, because you're in politics for 20-something years. You know everything, working with every party, seeing everything.
Yeah.
When was that trigger moment where you said, you know what, I see some kind of gap in whatever is out there, I'm going to go full on?
Yeah, I was not that planned. I wish it was that organized. I wish I knew what I was doing. I didn't. I mean, for the first 3 years of Media Style, I had absolutely no clue, what the next day or what the next contract would bring. So instead, what I was really trying to do was get a promotion within the political sphere. I went to my boss's office and I said, I want to be, the director of communications, or I want to have another job. And she said, no, we really like you in the job that you're in now. We want you there for another year. And I'd done it for 5 years already, and I was really good at it. I'm not afraid to say that I was a really good press secretary, but that's not what I wanted to do anymore. So I said, well, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to go back to school, and I seriously considered going to be a baker and a pastry guy at Cordon Bleu.
Nice.
Wow.
We even explored a development deal from politics to pastry for a reality show. And then...
that's a nice title, I like it.
Yeah. I think I fell in love with the title a little bit so much that it fogged my thinking for far too long. But then, through some conversations with some really important advisors and mentors to me, they said, maybe you stick with what you know. And you don't know how to make pastries, and you don't know how to make reality television. So this is going to be an uphill battle for you. Why don't you just pick up a few communications contracts and see how it goes? And we found a real value proposition in being just a lot smarter, quite frankly, than a lot of the bigger firms were. Because we were so little, we could be really agile and we could be really nimble. So when we launched a campaign in the digital space, a lot of other agencies would sort of set it and forget it. They put out the Facebook advertisements or the Google ads, and then 30 days later they check in and see how it does, just like a TV ad or a radio ad. Whereas MediaStyle's entire sort of value proposition is built around being more clever than that, and kind of being ahead of the next curve and ahead of the next step. So my team here is working in the virtual reality space and the augmented reality space. We're looking to see how we can insert gamification into public relations and government relations. We're seeing how we can leverage digital tools that maybe corporations and others leverage, but for public good. So for accomplishing the change that we really want to see in our government and making sure our government listens to us. So we spend a lot of time focusing on those types of things. But at the same time, the other thing that I think we do really great around here and what we really focus on is hospitality. So we want our offices to be as comfortable as possible and as flexible and as usable as possible. So the space we're in now on our third floor is open for nonprofits and charities and others to use as a design thinking space, as a workshop space, as a lecture space. And we give it to a lot of those folks who frankly can't afford it for free. Because my entire team here are new urbanists. We really have an urban sort of and an urbanist view of how our offices should be run. And let's face it, we're not here between the hours of 7 p.m. in the morning, so why not let it
Thank God.
100%.
Exactly. Well, it all depends on what client project we're working on. Sometimes it happens we're here that late, but why not let other people use this particular space?
I think that's a great idea because these groups are typically going to be operating in the bottom of the Bronson Center or in these classrooms that offer no kind of creative thought. So if you can get them into... and space does dictate. Why do you think Shopify spent so much time creating an office that can get thought, creativity, and
exactly, and that's why we created
great.
Idea Space a while ago. So that was it's been a 2-year project for us now, and Idea Space was on the 4th floor at MediaStyle for a little while, and we set up more like a studio. And frankly, the community didn't need it that way. They wanted a lecture space. They wanted a space where they could collaborate and have board meetings. So we moved our staff up to the studio space. We turned it from all black into literally all white. So the team works upstairs now, and down here on the 3rd floor is where I'm able to do podcasts with folks like you, without the entire team having to listen to me talk. They can listen to the podcast later if they really care that much, as well as then we do live broadcasts out of this particular space for the duration of the election, as well as webinars and other things. So the space on the 3rd floor becomes as flexible and as reimaginable as my kind of entire office is with MediaStyle. So really the way we design our spaces and the way we think about our spaces is the kind of the same way that we think about our team and the way that we work. So we want to have a space that's as democratic as possible, as well as a team that's as democratic as possible to complement the work that we do to strengthen Canada's democracy. So
that's amazing.
Right on.
And so are you hiring right now? Are you looking
right now? I am. I have a junior graphic designer position open right now. And if people have incredible skills and talents and they think that they fit in here, we always want to hear from them. We're not the kind of business that just believes in creating jobs and then having them filled, but rather finding people that work really well with our purposefully small team. So we have also one of the most unique hiring processes, I think, in Ottawa. We don't look at resumes until the very end. We ask folks to write us a letter about why they think they might want to work with us, which really means that you've got to dig in and really research about what MediaStyle is all about. So I'll be blunt, if somebody was to reference this podcast this far in and something that I was to say in their opening letter, they do really well with us because it shows that they're able to dig in and really figure out what our organization's about. Through that process, that's then handed to the entire team. Our partnership level doesn't have anything to do with the hiring until a little bit later in the process, once they've cleared a few hurdles first, which is an in-person interview, a telephone interview, and then they come to work with us for a few days. When we take on a team member here at MediaStyle, we really want to believe that we're bringing somebody on for the long term and that they're going to be part of our family. And we can find out pretty quickly within about a couple days of working together whether that's going to happen or not. So it's kind of almost the exact opposite or reverse of the traditional hiring process that unfortunately most people here in Ottawa go through with the government, which is really impersonal and really resume based. And how many bubbles did you fill in?
You see the workplaces that and the complaints about employees and stuff, and that's just a waste of time. And I'm sure you have better things to do than listen to your employees come.
They have other things to complain about.
And realistically, people these days can, not forge their resumes, but they can make their resumes and make themselves appear how they need to be just to get a job, right?
There's a reason we have this hiring process. There's a reason that we've got this one. Not everybody works out, and it's not all going to work for everybody.
Well, I think what you're doing is excellent. So mediastyle.ca and check all of everything. out about this amazing company, and hopefully you're still listening in and you get those tips if you want to work here in the future. So we're going to take a quick break now, listen to Jen from Foodie Prince talk about, of course, Bo's Oktoberfest, where I will be camping out the whole week.